Hello, good morning and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one-stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. Welcome to another session of the Hindu News Analysis for the date 12th of August 2024. Now, in today's discussion, these are the 10 very important topics that we would be taking up. The first one, I'm pretty sure all of you have heard of it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you have already learned some information from this article, that is Hindenburg Report regarding the Sebi chairperson. Second and third article will be Olympics special. One is what has been the performance of India in the recently concluded Olympics. The Paris Olympics is over now. It's a time for introspection. What has been achieved and what should be done going forward and targeting more number of medals in the year 2028. Third article, nutrition strategy and Olympic agony. This is an editorial article. Certain concepts have been discussed there. Let's try and understand. Next, headline or core inflation targeting. This article appeared in the international edition of Hindu Today. In the last couple of days, there has been a lot of discussion, even in the monetary policy committee discussion and the announcement which was done by the Reserve Bank of India's governor. He spoke about the concept of headline inflation and why is RBI targeting headline inflation. Today, let's try and understand the pros, cons, etc. related to this argument. And in fact, the economic survey which has been published very recently also has talked about shifting the concept of target of inflation in India. I'll show you certain content from the economic survey as well. Next, Constitution of India does not have provision for creamy layer amongst SCs and STs. This, let's say the discussion regarding creamy layer has been happening for a lot of days now. In the earlier video also, Chetan sir has already discussed. Let me give you an update regarding that. Nitrogen use in different rice varieties, a science and technology related article. Railways to connect tribal areas. Perfunctory panacea, again it is associated with the Vijnana Puraskars. We have had a discussion regarding Vijnana Puraskars in the earlier video. It's an update editorial in the page. ACs are heating up the global much further. And the last article, Google antitrust case. Again, even this article has appeared multiple times now, but today under the text and context page of Hindu newspaper, a very big article is provided. Let's summarize that article. Before I start with the first article, here is a very important announcement. If you are looking to prepare for the upcoming civil services examination, till the 14th of August, there is an offer for you. You can purchase the Unacademy courses at a price of 1250 rupees per month. The details of the course are provided in the link below. If you are interested, and if any of your friends or relatives are searching for a very good coaching assistance, do recommend us. Now, let me start the discussion. In today's Hindu newspaper, in fact not just Hindu newspaper, Indian Express, Economic Times, Business Line, all the newspapers are filled with multiple articles related to one concept, that is Hindenburg Report on the current chairperson of Securities Exchange Board of India. Now, what is the issue all about? And this issue has become more of a political angle now. Lot of political parties are also jumping in. The members of opposition parties are seeking resignation of Sebi chairperson. They are also seeking or demanding resignation of the Prime Minister of India. Let's try and understand what has happened in the recent times. Couple of days ago, that is Saturday, the research organization Hindenburg came out with one more report on India. And when I say one more report, last year in the month of January 2023, a report was published by the same organization, same research institute, regarding how Adani company has manipulated the shares in Indian market. I hope you understand. All these, whatever I am going to discuss henceforth, all these are basically allegations. I am saying allegations for a very simple reason. Certain investigation has already been conducted by Sebi. So far, even Sebi has not given anything regarding whether these allegations made by the Hindenburg, are they true in the context of Adani companies or not? So let's assume these are as of now allegations. Now understand this very carefully. Last year they came out with a report, and that has led to a lot of, right, let's say events in the stock market as well as in the other markets as well. More than 40 research organizations, or let's say the research have been conducted by multiple organizations regarding the report that was published by Hindenburg. Now after that, even in the Supreme Court of India, there was a petition asking Supreme Court of India to direct CBI or a special investigation team to be set up to conduct investigations. Supreme Court of India stated that whatever has been conducted so far by Sebi, they are happy with that. In fact, Supreme Court of India stated that the investigations that have been conducted by Sebi so far is inspiring confidence of the court in the let's say capability of Securities Exchange Board of India, and that's a reason Supreme Court rejected the request to set up an SIT or hand it over to CBI. Now regarding Sebi, it says they have conducted investigations into various allegations that were made on the functioning of Adani group of companies. So far no report in the public domain is available as to what was the findings of Sebi, if at all there is any penalty imposed by Sebi on the Adani group of companies. No, nothing is available in the public domain as of now. In the month of June, Sebi sent a show cause notice to the Hindenburg company, asking them why no action should be taken against them because of their activities, and certain concerns were raised regarding the functioning of the Hindenburg research also by Securities Exchange Board. And in fact, in the Supreme Court judgment also it was stated that how an entity can lead to such huge amount of losses of retail investors in a particular market, that should also be considered, that should also be investigated or looked into. And regarding the show cause notice that has been sent by Sebi, Hindenburg has replied, and this is the latest, let's say, the event that has taken place in the set of events that have been happening in the Indian market for the last 1.5 years. Now what are the let's say the new allegations, what are the new things that have been pointed out by Hindenburg? The very important point that the Hindenburg makes is whether Sebi has conducted the investigations in Adani group of companies, was there any partiality or the investigation was conducted impartially. The reason they have raised this kind of allegation is because of certain investment activities, or let's say regarding the current chairperson of Securities Exchange Board of India, Miss Madhuri Buch. Now understand this, rather than repeatedly saying the name of the chairperson, I'll simply say, right, the chairperson A. Now the concern that has been raised is that A, along with her husband, earlier had invested in one of the financial institutions which was set up in a tax haven, and in this particular institution the brother of Mr. Gautam Adani also had made an investment. Now these investments were rooted into Indian market and the manipulation was done in the Indian stock market. Now some of you might be thinking, sir, what kind of manipulation are they talking about? What is the importance of manipulation? The reason is very simple. Whenever you talk about any kind of these companies which are listed in the stock market, at least 25% of the shares have to be given out, have to be sold in the market whenever the company goes public. That is, whenever the company goes for IPO. And whenever a small share numbers are present in the market, it is very easy to manipulate the stock prices by having or by creating a very high demand for such shares. So earlier report that was published by Hindenburg specifically spoke about this. Now again, there were counter allegations made. Certain clarifications also have been provided by Adani, saying that all of this is factually incorrect. Nothing of this sort has been done by them. But having said so, now the concern that has been raised, or the allegation that has been raised, is A, along with her husband, invested in the same fund which was set up by one of the directors who was working in the Adani group of companies. Don't you think there should be certain investigation done into this as well? And if Sebi has conducted a impartial investigation, if Sebi has conducted an impartial investigation into all the allegations that were done by Hindenburg earlier, was this not found out? If it was found out, did Madhuri Buch earlier provide all of this disclosure to the regulator? Because mind you, this person A has been part of Sebi. She has been part of Sebi earlier as a part of a member, and in 2022 she became the chairperson. In fact, the first chairperson, woman chairperson of Sebi. So argument is, was there a disclosure done? Is it not a conflict of interest if such disclosures are not done? And even if it is done, if she has overseen the investigation into the allegations made into Adani group of companies, is it not a conflict of interest? That is a very important issue that has been raised. In fact, many of the bureaucrats, that is the civil servants who have been approached regarding this particular issue, also have raised the same concern, that is, there should have been much more clarity. Because please understand, one way is to basically disclose that you have investment in the stock market, you have invested in the mutual funds, you have invested in that international fund XYZ, etc. Another way of giving more granular clarity, I repeat, more granular clarity, is that you clearly say how much of your investment has been done into this fund, or these particular investments are done in the fund, have they been routed to invest into Adani group of companies, etc., etc. This kind of granular clarity, has it been provided? Again, to be very, very clear here, no articles either yesterday or today have given whether she has done such granular, let's say, disclosures or not. If she has not done, definitely yes, there will be certain issue regarding conflict of interest. But Sebi has clearly stated that in certain cases the disclosures have been done. In certain cases, the chairperson, and again this is nothing new, earlier also this has happened under Sebi and many other organizations, the heads or the important personnel who are involved in the investigation, when they disclose certain information and if there is a conflict of interest, they generally recuse themselves from that investigation. In fact, when this particular issue was taken to Supreme Court of India, there are certain points which are mentioned in this article which are relevant as well. Supreme Court of India stated that they can basically ask the CBI or order CBI or set up a special investigation team to look into such matters under Article 32 and Article 142 of Indian Constitution. They have this kind of a power. But having said so, the court also mentioned that this can be done only in certain exceptional cases. What are the exceptional cases? In certain cases, let's say the people who are overseeing the investigation, who are the influential bureaucrats or let's say the officials who are looking into investigation, if they are involved or if they have any kind of a conflict of interest, in such cases, Supreme Court of India can order CBI to look into these cases or even set up an SIT. The same argument has been raised in the context of the current chairperson of Sebi. Going forward, again, I hope you understand this. This is not the end of the discussion here. Going forward, more and more news articles will be published, more information regarding what has been done in the form of disclosures. Was there any conflict of interest, to be very precise here? All of this will come into light. You don't worry. But for a conceptual understanding or for, let's say, civil services examination, what are the important points? Can Supreme Court of India, is it empowered under articles of Constitution to direct the CBI to look into such matters? What is the conflict of interest here? Can we use this concept under ethics paper where the bureaucrats who are present they can also be, right, let's say, involved in such investigations, etc., etc. So that is the first very important point related to this issue. Second, many of the opposition party members have called for resignation of the current chairperson of Sebi. Sebi, although has supported the chairperson, there are calls for resignations. Another very important conflict of interest issue which has been raised in this article or let's say regarding this report is that husband of Mrs. Madhuri Butch, is appointed by a foreign company as a senior advisor. And once she becomes the chairperson, she keeps on promoting certain product in the market. And in this particular, let's say, product which has been proposed and promoted by the chairperson, that is basically Real Estate Investment Trust, REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust. REITs are being promoted not only by her but many of these investors in the market or the experts in the market. But the concern which has been raised in the report is, there is a foreign company, USA based company, Blackstone, and in this company her husband is appointed as senior advisor, and now the chairperson starts promoting this product, and thereafter the Blackstone introduces two IPOs, or let's say two REITs for which IPOs are conducted, in case of India. Is it not a conflict of interest? Was this disclosed? What about a retail investor? Will the retail investor understand these kind of issues which can later become, let's say, certain problems if the disclosure is done, and the market might take a hit? So these are some of the allegations which have been, let's say, raised by the Hindenburg regarding the functioning or the partiality or the impartiality of the Sebi. Having said so, again I reiterate the point here. These are simply allegations. These allegations have been rejected by Madhuri Butch, her husband, as well as Adani group of companies. Right, all these allegations have been rejected, and going forward more and more discussion are going to take place regarding this. In fact, there is one more demand which has been raised by the opposition political members. They want a joint parliamentary committee. They want a JPC to be set up which will look into all of these and come out with a report. Now you will have to wait and see whether the government of India will in fact accept to this kind of a, let's say, probe request, or let's say setting up of a joint parliamentary committee which has been raised by opposition political members. Then, so these are the various important articles, or let's say concepts associated with this. Now associated with Sebi, I just want to give you one more piece of information. Sebi, the functioning of Sebi is taken care of by a board. Please remember this. The functioning of Sebi is overseen by a board, and this establishment of a board is under section 4 of the Securities and Exchange Board of India Act of 1992. To be very precise here, before we had Sebi Act of 1992, Sebi was established through the Executive Authority of Government of India back in the year 1988. And before this, there was one more authority which was set up under Capital Controls Act. The argument here is, under the Securities Exchange Board of India Act, Sebi Act of 1992, section 4 talks about the board under Sebi which will oversee the functioning of Sebi. And who are the members of Sebi board? Please have a look at this. A chairman is appointed, or a chairperson is appointed by the Government of India. In addition to the chairperson, there are two members from officials of the Ministry of Central Government which will deal with finance as well as administration. One member from amongst the officials of the Reserve Bank of India, and 5 other members, of whom at least 3 shall be whole-time members, to be appointed by the central government. In essence, the factual related statements or factual statements can be asked by UPSC in the prelims examination regarding the members. Is there any representation of Finance Ministry, Reserve Bank of India, etc., etc. Total membership can also be asked. So please memorize this particular representation, or let's say the split of the board members as a part of Sebi section 4 Act of 1992. So these are certain important points I just wanted to discuss with you people regarding what is happening in the last 1 or 2 days. Now related to this, an MCQ assignment, assignment number 10. Consider the following statements. Sebi has been set up as a constitutional authority. Prior to Sebi, the market regulator was controller of capital issues. And third one is, SAT is the appellate authority against orders of Sebi. How many of these 3 statements are correct, are true? What is the right answer? Do let me know in the chat section or the comment section. Before I go forward, Not only the Hindu news analysis, we are also coming out with lot of other initiatives. For example, I myself have started a new initiative by the name of Economy Made Easy. And all of this is to basically make this channel as a one-stop destination for all of your current affairs requirements. So if you like these initiatives that we have launched and we are doing, do show us your appreciation by hitting the like button, and also if you are yet to subscribe to this channel, kindly do it right now. Now, earlier MCQ assignment number 8 and number 9. So earlier MCQ assignment number 8, consider the following statements regarding carry trade. In the last session that I took, I discussed a concept called as yen carry trade. Regarding that, I had given you one assignment having two statements. Under this, the money is borrowed in Japanese yen only. Underline the term only. Carry trade can be conducted using any currency for that matter. The whole objective under carry trade is borrow in a market where interest rates are very low and invest in the market where interests are higher. Use the arbitration, use the arbitrage, not arbitration, arbitrage. Use the arbitrage and earn interest rates. That is the concept of a carry trade. So when you write only yen, statement 1 will be wrong. The expansionary monetary policy of USA will promote yen carry trade. Yen carry trade. The expansionary monetary policy that would be followed, or quantitative easing that would be followed in USA, will increase money supply. And when money supply increases, interest rates will come down. And when interest rates will come down, the scope of arbitrage, that is interest differential between Japan and USA, interest rates will further go down. That is, the gap between the interest rates will start shrinking. This will not promote carry trade. It will actually reduce the requirement, or let's say the benefits of carry trade. Second statement is also wrong. Right option is option D. Both are incorrect. MCQ assignment number 9. Consider the following statements. Waqf Council is a statutory body. Yes. Okay, this is a statutory body. The chairperson of the Waqf Council is the President of India. No, the Minister for Minority Affairs. It monitors the implementation of the provisions of the 2013 Act in the states as well as union territories. This statement is also true. Right option for this question, that is assignment number 9, will be option B. Only two statements are correct. Now, these are the two assignments that are given, and today also I will give you a couple of assignments. One is already given. Let me continue the discussion here. With closure of the Paris Olympics 2024, now what has been the performance of India and what should be done by India in the coming days, and more importantly for you people in civil services, preparing for the civil services, what are the important points that you can carry and use it in the mains answer writing, or let's say in the next year preliminary examination. Point number 1, in regards to the number of medals, how many medals did we win in the Paris Olympics 2024? In the Paris Olympics 2024, have a look at this. We have basically finished at the 71st ranking compared to the earlier 2020 Olympics, where our ranking was 48th. Right, our ranking was 48th. Now we have won the ranking of 71, or we are at the 71st position in the medal tally. Now in case of the gold medals in the earlier Olympics, which was held in Tokyo, we had won one gold medal, but this year no gold medals. The total number of medals, right, the total number of medals were basically 7, that is again one lesser than what we had won in the earlier Tokyo Olympics. UPSC is not going to ask you these kind of, let's say, number of medals, etc. But what is important are these. Point number 1, the government of India had implemented multiple schemes, undertaken multiple programs to promote the let's say the preparation for the Olympics, and also they had a target of, or they even today have a target of having the medal numbers in double digits, because historically our medal numbers have been in single digits. The target is enter into the double digit number, and in order to achieve this, Government of India implemented a scheme by the name of Target Olympic Podium Scheme. Remember this, TOPS, Target Olympic Podium Scheme. Now this particular scheme is important because from 2020, that is after Tokyo Olympics, till the 2024 Paris Olympics, the government of India has spent somewhere around 72 crore rupees, 72 crore rupees, mind you, to provide assistance to the, let's say, the athletes who are preparing for 2024 Olympics. In addition to this, there was also a cell which was set up under the Ministry of Youth, and by the way, this top scheme was implemented by Ministry of Youth and Sports only. Under the Ministry of Youth only, there was a cell which was actually set up to assist these athletes who are covered under the top scheme. Right, so this is one very important point. Second very important point, in today's Hindu newspaper, there is one article in the editorial page. The article, which has a title of Nutrition Strategy Would Have Averted Olympic Agony. What are they discussing in this article? What is the importance of this article? Listen to me carefully. One of the women athletes, that is Vinish Phogat, was guaranteed a medal. In the wrestling 50 kg category, she was guaranteed a medal. Because on the weighing day, on the second day of the competition, she was overweight by 100 grams. Mind you, 100 grams overweight, she was disqualified. So a medal prospect, a guaranteed medal was not, we were not able to get that particular guaranteed medal. Now what this article discusses is very simple. In the light of the events that have taken place in the recently concluded Olympics, now we need to focus on one concept called by, right, I understand this, the concept by the name of nutrition management. That is basically precision nutrition. Precision nutrition. What is this idea of a precision nutrition? From one person to another person, how much nutrition is required will vary. And when we consume food, nutrients, when we consume that, how our body will behave will also keep on varying. So from time to time, from, right, let's say one event to another event, there is a need to have a personalized, I repeat, there is a need to have a personalized approach to every athlete. That is basically the concept of precision nutrition. For example, I am pretty sure all of you, or let's say most of you, including me by the way, we keep on searching which food is good for us, which food is good for reducing weight, which food is a superfood, why should we consume more of a superfood, etc. But from one person to another person, what is the need of this food? And if you intake this particular food, what will be the impact on your body? How your body will behave? All of this will keep on varying. And that is where precision nutrition becomes very, very important. Especially for these kind of athletes who have spent a lot of time in preparation of such games, and the government also, which has spent huge amount of money to train these athletes. It is a bad outcome, or let's say it is an unnecessary outcome if these are disqualified just because of weight management. That is the reason the article discusses the concept of precision nutrition. Now again understand this. Here one more concept that they have discussed is the argument of continuous glucose monitor, CGM, continuous glucose monitor. You must have seen many people who are wearing or who have basically pasted a monitor, or let's say a small patch generally on their arm. This is basically a continuous glucose monitor. And what we will be doing is, using the continuous glucose monitors, we will be able to understand how our body is behaving with the change in the consumption of the food items. For example, if I eat a sweet, how will my glucose change? How much glucose spike will be observed? If I eat this, is there a sudden spike and a sudden fall? Is there a rise gradually? Am I able to absorb energy over a period of time, or suddenly the breakdown happens of the food, etc. All of that information you will be able to get if you use continuous glucose monitors. In fact, many of these athletes who have won medals in the Olympics and other games as well, they have attributed to the fact that their improved performance is on account of the usage of continuous glucose monitors. And the continuous glucose monitors, the CGM, is not only being used in the Olympics, it is also being used in many other games such as cycling as well. So can we use this kind of a technology? Can we marry the concept of technology with the nutrition, that is a precision nutrition, to ensure that our, let's say, athletes in the upcoming games or in the 2028 Olympics games, which is going to be held in USA, their performance will be improving. Because it was not just the case of Vinesh Phogat, it was also a case of one more wrestler who had to basically go for a fasting for 2 days. The second athlete, that is basically one more, the wrestler itself, the woman wrestler, Antim Pangal, who basically was sent back because of certain event. She lost her, let's say, the fights because for 2 continuous days, she had to fast and ensure that when the time of weighing is done or when it is a time of weighing, her weight is under control. The concern is that whenever the athletes are forced into all of these kinds of, let's say, extreme weight loss techniques, suddenly the weight will be lost, no doubt, but they will end up losing lot of energy, lot of stamina, and that definitely will have an impact on their performance. And many experts say this is one of the reason why the second wrestler that I've quoted here was not able to win the contest. So argument in this article is, can we use this kind of a technology as well as a precision nutrition going forward? Start preparing our athletes now itself so that by 2028, when we will go for the next Olympics, our team will be much better and we will have more possibilities of getting more medals. Not only this, the article also recommends, or the author also says, there is a need to hire nutritionists for a longer duration and for different teams as well, so that each of the nutritionists who will be associated with the team, let's say one for wrestling team, one for let's say the boxing team, etc., these nutritionists will be able to spend more time, understand the rules of the games, and will be able to provide personalized approach to each of these athletes, which will help them in performing better in the next Olympic games. This is a point number 2 that I want to discuss. Point number 3, we need to increase the number of athletes who will participate in the Olympics. Winning is one thing, but before that, we need to increase the number of athletes who will participate in the Olympics itself. That is basically, if you look at the number, USA, which is a table topper in terms of medals, it's a table topper. USA had sent 592 athletes to the Paris Olympics. China had sent 383 athletes. Japan had sent 403 athletes. India, on the other side, had sent 117 athletes. 117 athletes. So the argument given by various experts is that if you want to increase the number of medals that you win in the, let's say, the games, you will have to ensure that more and more athletes will compete. Our numbers are much lesser compared to other countries who are generally the table toppers. So we need to ensure more athletes will participate. Now, to increase the number of athletes who will participate in the Olympics, we need to spend more money. That is where the government expenditure in the form of a TOPS and the private sector expenditure in the form of corporate social responsibility, CSR, corporate social responsibility, can be utilized. But if you look at the grassroots problem, that is basically what is the fundamental problem as to why we are not able to get, let's say, the athletes who can bring us more and more medals. If you compare our program with, let's say, USA program, in the USA, within the education system, the concept of athletes or honing the athletes or promoting athletes is inculcated. It's a part of the education system itself. Can we emulate part of it? Can we basically use such kind of a system in India also to promote more and more participation of the athletes? These are certain very important points that you need to understand regarding the recently concluded Olympics. More than, I hope you understand this, in many of these particular cases or the games, many of the Indian athletes were not able to finish on the podium, were not able to get the first, second or third position. They ended up having 4th position. Many experts say this is actually heartbreaking, because these have not lost by a huge margin. In many of these games, these have ended up on the losing side, or let's say not on the podium, just because of certain marginal issues. So we have to ensure that even these issues would be addressed, so that in the next games, these athletes will be on the podium, not right below the podium. So these are certain important points that I wanted to discuss in the context of Olympics. Let me go to the next important article. The exclusion of food, fuel may not materially alter headline inflation. What are the important points here? Listen to me. Very recently, let me show you a part of economic survey. The Government of India published Economic Survey 23-24 just before the announcement of budget for the current financial year. In this Economic Survey 23-24, in the chapter 5, there is a discussion. How can we promote the farmers' earnings in India? How can we improve the system which will provide better returns to farmers? And one point of discussion that they have done, and many of you might be wondering, sir, how farmers' earnings are connected to, let's say, the concept of headline and core inflation. Understand the linkage here. One point that they have mentioned is we need to review the inflation targeting system in India. We need to review the inflation targeting system. Why so? What is the argument in that? The argument is that right now the central banker, or let's say the Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, Monetary Policy Committee right now uses the concept of headline CPI inflation. They use headline CPI inflation as a nominal anchor. And whenever headline inflation is above, let's say 6%, 7%, etc., because the range under the Monetary Policy Framework Agreement, the range that has been provided is 4% plus or minus 200 basis points, which essentially means inflation has to be in the range of 2% and 6%. But the concern which has been raised against this is, in the headline, you include the prices of food as well as fuel. You include the prices of food and as well as fuel. And the prices of food and fuel are very volatile, short-lived. The prices will keep on fluctuating a lot. So by including the prices of food and fuel within the headline CPI, which is a nominal anchor, are we not making policies which are not representative of actual price level changes in the market? Actual in the sense, food and fuel, the prices of these are one, very volatile, and second very important point to note here is Reserve Bank of India makes policies or changes the interest rate through monetary policy. And these interest rates that will be changed by RBI will influence the demand side in the market, will not influence the supply side in the market. And if you talk about food and fuel, the prices of food and fuel are greatly influenced by supply side in the market. I hope you understand this. The argument is simple. RBI changes interest rates that will affect demand in the market. But the prices of food and fuel are greatly affected by supply side forces in Indian market. That's the reason when I say, are we not using an indicator which is not the right representation of changes in the price levels on which RBI can influence through its policies. So argument of economic survey and very recently by many experts as well is that why not remove certain commodities, calculate the inflation and use this inflation for policy making. For example, some experts have argued exclude food commodities from the basket of CPI, exclude the food commodities, calculate inflation for the remaining and use that as a nominal anchor. Reserve Bank of India's governor is not aligned with this. RBI governor says, I am not happy with that kind of a process. I will continue to use headline CPI inflation or indicator for policy making. Reason what has been provided by the RBI governor is very simple. RBI governor says that the retail inflation will affect the common man. Retail inflation will affect the common man. And common man such as you and me, Aam Aadmi, will be greatly affected by the movement in the prices of vegetables, prices of pulses, the prices of fruits, prices of onion, tomatoes, etc. And even we are affected by the changes in the prices of fuel as well. So the prices of food and fuel will affect a common man. So RBI governor says, no, I will not change the policy now. Second very important point is, if you talk about, let's say, the food prices, if the prices of the food keep on increasing, don't you think the workers will also demand higher wages? And with the higher wages, don't you think the manufacturing cost or the selling price by the companies will also start increasing? That is basically the wages contributing to inflation in the market. And that is exactly what the RBI is saying here. They are saying that with higher core inflation, with higher food inflation, no doubt headline inflation will be higher. No doubt headline inflation will be higher. But this higher food inflation also has the capacity to basically drive up even the core inflation. It has the capacity to drive up in the form of contribution even the core inflation. So we do not want to live the idea of targeting headline inflation. Will continue to target headline inflation. These are some of the arguments which have been provided by RBI Governor. Before I go forward, last week there was a RBI Monetary Policy Committee announcement. And in Hindu newspaper, most of the discussion was surrounding the concept of repo rate. But beyond repo rate, Hindu has not covered it. Beyond repo rate, there are so many important changes that have been announced by Reserve Bank of India within the monetary policy tools itself. If you people want the video, if you want me to cover those particular concepts, let's say in tomorrow's Hindu newspaper analysis, please do let me know in the comment section. I shall take up the discussion regarding that. Now, apart from this, one more very important point which has been discussed in this article is, should we continue to target 4% inflation rate? Should we continue to target 4% inflation rate? Should we make a change in this? The article argues in favor of changing the target rate. The argument which has been provided is, right now target is 4%, but the flexibility that is provided, that is upwards or downwards, is 2%, which is basically having a flexibility of 50%. RBI has a flexibility of 50%, and that creates a lot of uncertainties in the market. So the argument in the article is, let's change this particular target to 5% and have a bandwidth of plus or minus 100 basis points, so that the flexibility that is provided to Reserve Bank of India will be brought down to around 20% of the overall target given to RBI. Done. So these are certain very important points which are discussed in this article regarding food inflation, headline inflation and core inflation. Now, related to this, assignment number 11, consider the following statements for headline and core inflation. Two statements are provided. What is the right option? Please do let me know in the comment section. And in addition to this, answer writing practice, mains answer writing practice, assignment number 12. The higher food prices are more often not demand induced but simply supply induced. These are not demand induced but supply induced, and this statement I have borrowed from the economic survey itself. In the light of the above statement, discuss if there is a need to review the inflation targeting framework in India. 15 marker for 250 words. Try it out. Next article, Constitution does not have a provision for creamy layer among SCs or STs, a statement given by Law Minister Mr. Arjun Ram Meghwal. Now, what are the points here? What are the important points? Very recently, a constitutional bench of Supreme Court of India having 7 judges has issued certain order. In that particular order, there was one opinion, not an order, but an opinion that was given by 4 of the judges. Their opinion was basically, until now, only the central government has the power to categorize and provide quota within quota. I hope you understand the statement here, quota within quota. That is, according to the current system, the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, OBCs are given certain reservation. Now, central government, if they want, whatever is the reservation provided for the scheduled caste, within that they can again have a quota. That is, for this community or this caste, I will provide so much percentage. This community, I will provide this much percentage. A breakup can be provided, which has been tried out by many states now, and that is basically the reason why the constitutional bench has given this order. So, the Supreme Court of India 7-judge bench, constitutional bench, has stated that just like the central government having the power, henceforth even the state governments will also have the power. that is the state governments can also provide quota within quota. That is the point number 1 here. And with this announcement, lot of discussion started happening, because many of the states earlier they have proposed this idea of providing quota within quota for certain sections of, let's say, the communities, or let's say certain sections of people who are part of SCs and STs. On the lines of concept of creamy layer, which is introduced in case of OBCs, other backward classes, now it is expected that many of the state governments can also bring this idea of a creamy layer, which is an observation made by the 4 judges in the Supreme Court bench. It is an observation, it is not an order, by the way, and that is exactly what has been provided by the law minister here. The statement is the same thing. Observation is provided, not an order. Point number 1. Point number 2. Many of the MPs from both Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha have approached the Prime Minister and has given a document, memorandum of understanding to the Prime Minister, asking the Prime Minister not to implement what is the viewpoint of the Supreme Court in the recent judgment. And it is said that the Cabinet and the Prime Minister, all of them are on the same page, and they have categorically stated this observation of having a creamy layer within SCs and STs shall not be implemented by the government. At least as of now, that is what the government has stated. And again, the viewpoints might change, the process might change, and even the, let's say, the categorization, that is basically quota within quota, can also be done by many states, and even the central government, they might take up, underline the term, they might take up. I am not saying they are taking it up, they might take up in the coming days. But right now, the government of India says that according to the constitution which has been prepared by Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar, there is no concept of a creamy layer according to the provisions of the Constitution of India for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. There is no provision of a creamy layer, and the government says they intend to continue with the same, that is, all the SCs will be treated as one group, all the people from scheduled tribes will be treated as one group. There will be no quota created within the quota itself. So that is an update which has been provided by the law minister, central government or union government law minister. Next article, biotechnologists detect a difference in use of nitrogen in rice varieties. What are the important points here? Listen to me very carefully. This is related to science and technology. In India, we produce many types of rice varieties, and these rice varieties, generally understand this, they consume lot of water as well as lot of fertilizer. They consume lot of water and lot of fertilizers. This is point number 1. Point number 2, in the context of fertilizer, we are import dependent. We import huge amount of fertilizer, and if you see the split up of imports of fertilizer, majority of the imports are nitrogenous base itself. Nitrogenous base fertilizers imports are very high into India. And when you keep on importing, obviously you will have to pay a lot of dollars to import these fertilizers. Point number 3, according to a research that has been published, which was conducted by Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, GGU. According to a research paper that has been published by GGU, now they have been able to classify the rice varieties according to the concept of nitrogen use efficiency. Remember this terminology, nitrogen use efficiency, NUE. What is this NUE? For cultivating of rice, you will apply fertilizer. Let's say the urea based fertilizer or nitrogenous based fertilizer. How much fertilizer you will supply, how much nitrogen you will supply, and how much out of it will be absorbed by the plant. I hope you understand this. It's very simple. It's a ratio of how much will be absorbed by the plant compared to how much nitrogen you supply. This is called as nitrogen use efficiency. Now the problem is, to cultivate cereals, most of the cultivation is around cereals, and to cultivate these cereals such as, let's say, paddy, from which we get the rice, we end up providing or spending lot of money importing nitrogenous based fertilizer. Farmers apply a lot of it. If the nitrogenous use or let's say nitrogenous absorption is very less, lot of nitrogen that we apply or we supply for the cultivation will not be absorbed, it will lead to pollution. You might have heard of concept of algal blooms, eutrophication. One of the causes of all of it is the supply of nitrogen in the form of fertilizers by the farmers itself. So now what they have done is, this university has conducted a lot of studies and they have been able to find out which kind of crops, that is the rice varieties, have a very high NUE and have a very low NUE. The crops which will have a very high NUE basically means they will absorb more of nitrogen compared to, they will absorb more percentage of nitrogen which has been supplied in the form of fertilizer. These kind of crops, further R&D can be done. These kind of rice varieties can be promoted for cultivation, which will reduce the import dependence of nitrogen, which will also reduce pollution, etc., etc. That is basically the summation of the article provided here regarding the various rice varieties in India. Done? Right. So, this is one more important article associated with science and technology. Please be very careful. Next article, railways to lay track connecting tribal areas in AP, Odisha and Telangana. What are the important aspects of the article? Point number 1, railways already has one track main line which connects all the 3 states. The data is provided here, but as far as I am concerned, the names of the cities which are connected, all of that may not be relevant for civil services. The larger picture is very simple. Once the railway lines are laid down and these 3 states are connected, this will be one additional route, basically addition to one more existing route. The argument here is, the states which are being connected here has certain tribal population, and by laying down the railway tracks like this, by connecting the tribal population, we will be able to supply lot of goods and services which are required for promotion of the tribal welfare. For example, let us say medicines, or for that matter, let us say certain types of seeds, certain types of fertilizer, right, let us say food transportation, etc., etc. That is one very important advantage associated with the announcement. Second, if you look at a larger picture, which I would always advise you people to do, look at larger picture, infrastructure promotion is always good. Promotion of development of infrastructure is always good. For example, couple of days ago, Government of India announced more than 50,000 crore rupees in construction of 6 highways. In addition to this, now they are announcing construction of, let us say, railway lines connecting 3 important states. So, development of infrastructure always has a multiplier effect. Remember that. The development of infrastructure always is associated with a multiplier effect. Basic idea of a multiplier effect is, if you invest 1 rupees, as a result of this investment, your GDP will rise by how much? That is called as multiplier effect. Third very important aspect of this is, because of this additional one more line now, if there is too much of traffic on the main line, that is the main railway route, if there is any natural disaster on the main railway route, now there is an additional route which is also available, which you can use for transportation. That is the third very important objective. Fourth very important objective is, these states are generally associated with agriculture production. For example, AP, Odisha, right, all these states are associated with agriculture production. By connecting these 3 states, by laying down the railway network, I hope you understand, 1, transportation of agriculture sector commodities will become much better now, and second, right now lot of transportation in case of India, not just in the context of 3 states, but overall, lot of transportation generally takes place by using road mode of a transportation. We use a road as a main mode of a transportation in India. And when you have road as a main mode of a transportation, the cost of transportation is higher, the emissions which are caused is also very higher. How do we address, how do we reduce all of this? Shift to other modes of transportation such as railways, such as waterways. In all the states, in all the cities, you cannot have waterways, but what you can do is try to reduce the reliance on the roadways mode of a transportation by shifting some of it through railways, from road to railways mode of a transportation. So these are some of the very important, let's say, the outcomes or the objectives that you need to associate with announcement of Government of India regarding the railway lines. Next, article regarding perfunctory panacea, right? You might be confused regarding the headline of the article. Concept is simple here. Last week when I had taken a CNA session, I had discussed one concept related to Rashtriya Vignana Puraskar, and I said, compared to earlier system where we used to provide more than 300 awards to all the scientists in India, the number of awards has been reduced to 56 now. And there are 4 categories. These are the 4 categories: Vignana Ratna, Vignana Shri, Vignana Yuva, Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award and Vignana Team Awards. Now this article talks about certain issues regarding such an approach. Certain issues. What are the issues? First one, the article clearly states that the scientists are not working for money. Having said so, providing monetary compensation will always promote more and more, let's say, participation. You should provide monetary compensation, and beyond this, whether this will promote more and more participation or more and more innovation or not, a bigger problem is there are a lot of scientists in India who do not have sufficient funding, who do not have sufficient money to conduct research and development. If you provide monetary compensation to these kinds of, let's say, scientists, their contribution to development of science and technology will be much better. And rather than being worried about, right, whether they will be able to have sufficient money to consume food, provide for the family, provide for welfare of the family, etc., now they can participate in a better way, contribute in a better way. So monetary compensation is needed. Again, I will clearly say that the article doesn't say that the scientist is working for monetary benefit. No, scientists will keep on contributing, but monetary benefits will contribute and boost their participation, will contribute their participation in providing all of this. In fact, many of the Nobel laureates, when they were interviewed, not in this article but other discussion, many of the Nobel laureates, when they were interviewed, they said going to all of these, let's say, speech giving or going to, let's say, accept Nobel, etc., all of this is a waste of time. This is a waste of time. Why? They will have to spend a lot of time in other activity compared to the research and development, right? So the same argument can be attributed here as well. Right now, under the Vignana Puraskar, no monetary benefit is provided, no cash prize. In fact, earlier, under this component of Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award, this was provided by CSIR. Under this award, the government used to provide a cash prize of 5 lakh rupees, and until you retire or hit the age of 65 years and you are still working in the government organization, a monthly additional salary of 15,000 rupees was provided. But with this introduction of Rashtriya Vignan Puraskar, all of this has been discontinued, right? Only an award is provided and a certificate is provided and a medal is provided under the Rashtriya Vignan Puraskars. So this is one argument, and second argument is you need to promote more and more participation of the scientist in the scientific community in research and development, so that we will also be able to earn more and more Nobel prizes. Because whatever you want to say, the prizes that they will get in the domestic market cannot be compared with an international recognition. I hope you understand. They cannot be compared with international recognition. And when they earn a Nobel Prize or when they win a Nobel Prize, it is a huge, great the recognition at the global level which can be given to these particular scientists. So we need to invest more. Budgetary allocations have to be done more, so that, right, the assistance provided to scientific community will increase, their contribution will also increase. So this is basically in a nutshell what is provided in the editorial of Hindu newspaper. Next article, as the world warms, more ACs are sold, heating up globe further. This is the irony of the situation. The heat is, right, let's say the temperature source. To basically protect ourselves and have certain comfort, we purchase ACs, and by purchasing ACs and by using, no doubt, the room will become cool, our body temperature will be cooled, but we are further increasing the global temperatures. And this article discusses exactly the same thing. What are the important points here? Very important for ecology and environment answer writing. Point number 1, according to a research that was conducted by International Energy Authority, IEA, International Energy Agency. According to a survey which has been conducted by IEA, currently there are somewhere around 2.5 billion ACs which are being used. And in the coming days, the number of ACs will balloon. This will further increase and more ACs would be purchased and used. Point number 1. Point number 2, whenever a common man purchases ACs, or generally when the ACs are purchased, you can opt for an AC which will consume lesser electricity based on the star rating. For example, in case of India, we have a star rating. If the product, or let's say electronic appliance, has a 5-star rating, it is very energy efficient. If it has a 1-star rating or less than that, or let's say only 2-star rating, it consumes lot of electricity. According to this survey, most of the consumers, most of the buyers of ACs end up purchasing very low energy efficient ACs, very low energy efficient ACs. Now, what is the problem with that? If you purchase such less energy efficient, less efficient ACs, they will consume more electricity, correct? They will consume more electricity, and some of this electricity which is supplied, which is used for the consumption here, it is produced through fossil fuels. It is produced through fossil fuels. So, have a look at the connection here. We will purchase ACs, we will run the ACs, and the electricity which is consumed more by this AC is supplied through fossil fuel burning. Don't you think these fossil fuels which are burnt will contribute to emission and further warming up of the planet? That is the second point. Third very important point, if you ask me, sir, why are the people purchasing less efficient ACs here? Reason is the initial cost, that is basically how much money you will have to pay to purchase this AC, the initial cost of investment is very, very high. Over a longer duration, no doubt you will get the benefit, but the initial investment, because it is higher, many of the households will not be able to fund this, or will be able to provide for this money in the beginning. Hence, they will prefer to purchase a lower efficient or less efficient ACs, which are comparatively much cheaper. Another very important point associated with ecological impact of running of ACs is that these ACs use refrigerants. These ACs use refrigerants, and these refrigerants are basically the chlorofluorocarbons or hydrochlorofluorocarbons, and these have a very high potential of absorption of, let's say, the sunlight, which will further lead to global warming. So, these are certain very, very important points which have been provided regarding purchasing or the consumption behavior of the people when we purchase more ACs, and what is the ecological impact of purchasing more and more ACs. Done. So, you can use this information if at all anything is asked under the ecology and environment, how policy making can hurt the objective of government to protect the environment. In addition to this, please remember one more very important point here. Government of India has implemented an initiative by the name of PLI, Production Linked Incentive. By the way, the ACs are part of white goods. The government also has covered the ACs as well as LEDs under the promotion of PLI scheme. One more piece of information, please be very, very careful. Now, last article for today. Earlier also I have discussed this, Chetan sir also has discussed this. But in the text and context page, a very big article has been provided regarding the monopolist tendencies of the company Google. What has been mentioned here is very simple. The company has been able to have a very tight grip over the market. The company has a monopoly over the market, and the practice that they have inculcated over a period of time, the practice that they have adopted over a period of time is said to be exclusive distribution agreements or default distribution. What is the basic idea here? This company will enter into an agreement with, let's say, a smartphone manufacturer, will enter into an agreement with, let's say, a telecom service provider. By entering into agreement with a smartphone manufacturer, the default, the app for search in the smartphone will be Google, and by entering into agreement with a telecom service provider, When you start searching, they will ensure that you will inevitably choose to use the Google Chrome itself for searching any of the products or for searching anything using internet. Thus, this agreement is called as an exclusive distribution agreement or default distribution agreement. Please remember, this is the term which has been used by the court in the United States of America, can be asked in the preliminary examination. Point number 2 here, what is the problem if they have a monopoly? What is the problem if they have a monopoly? The problem as stated by the government of USA is that a customer in the long term would be affected. Customer in the long term would be affected. Reason being, if a company will have monopoly, there is no other competitor in the market. And such companies, multinational companies, will kill the competition over a period of time using such policies. And once they establish a monopoly, they will be least bothered about interest of the customers. Mind you, they will be least bothered about interest of the customers. What do you mean by that? You do not like certain service provided by them. You are unhappy with the services provided by them. To who else can you go now? Who else is the service provider in the market? Nobody is there. All the competitors have been killed. That's the reason the court warns against having such monopoly, and even the government of USA is of the same opinion that such monopoly should not be allowed to happen. That's the second very important point that you need to note from this article. Third very important point, September 9th, right? September 9th, that is next month. September 9th, the judge will continue hearing the case, basically hearing what will be the settlement now. According to the article provided here, there are many options which are available for basically settling with the government of USA. One, the company might be split up, which I told you in the earlier discussion as well. The company's business can be split up to ensure that monopoly will not take place, but that is very unlikely to happen. Second likely thing that is more probable to happen is the government of USA will settle with the company, that is Google company here, wherein certain restrictions regarding how the company will operate its policies. What kind of policy they have used earlier to have a monopoly in the market, these policies can be drawn back or basically recalled to a certain extent, so that there is no allegation of monopolization by Google in the market. So these are certain very important updates which have been provided in the article regarding the Google monopoly or antitrust case in USA. One more very important point here, which I mentioned in the earlier discussion also, please remember the name of the act. Please remember the name of the act. In fact, the judge mentioned the act in the order, that is Sherman Act. Section 2 of Sherman Act was quoted by the judge in USA to basically call out the Google company for having monopolistic tendencies in the market. Done? So these are certain very important points regarding the monopoly case or antitrust case involving Google. So these are the various articles as well as the concepts associated with the articles, and mind you, I have given you 3 assignments, 2 MCQs, please let me know what is the answer, and 1 descriptive question, please practice answer writing for that. That's it from my side today. If you like this initiative, hit the like button. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel right now. Thank you. Have a great day.